All right, let's just get straight to it. This is for you if you feel like a ghost driving your own body. If you're stuck on autopilot, just going through the motions day in and day out, only to collapse into bed at night wondering, really? Is this all there is? We are about to rip open Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist to figure out why so many of us get stuck, and more importantly, how you can finally break free. Does your life feel like it's just a loop? The same job, the same commute, the same boring conversations? Deep down, you're capable of so much more. You've got these dreams floating around in your head, but they feel, I don't know, a million miles away. Impossible, even. And you tell yourself it's because of your situation, your responsibilities, maybe just bad luck. But what if that whole story, the one you keep telling yourself, is a complete and total lie? See, in the book, an old king talks about this incredibly powerful and dangerous idea he calls the world's greatest lie. It's this belief that poisons our potential before we even give ourselves a shot. It's the silent killer of dreams because it makes giving up sound reasonable. It makes it sound like the wise thing to do. It's the lie that convinces you to trade your treasure for a little bit of comfort. And there it is. That's the lie. The idea that you are no longer the driver of your own life, but you're just a passenger along for the ride. It's that moment you start blaming fate, the economy, your boss, your past, anything and everything for why you aren't where you want to be. It's this sneaky belief that your story has already been written, and your only job is to just sit back and watch it unfold. So let me ask you straight up, are you truly a victim here? Or are you just choosing the comfort of the pasture over the chaos and uncertainty of the journey? The book calls your unique purpose, your true calling, your personal legend. And the hard truth is, most of us are exactly like Santiago's sheep. We're so focused on just finding the next meal and staying safe with the herd that we completely forget we can choose a different path. Okay, let's dive into this because this is where things get really uncomfortable, but also incredibly useful. If you feel stuck, there's a good chance you're suffering from what I call the crystal merchant syndrome. It's the diagnosis for a dream that's been put on hold, not because you failed, but because you're terrified of what happens after you succeed. So in this story, Santiago, our hero, has lost everything and gets a job with a man who owns a crystal shop. This merchant is a decent guy, but he is just deeply unhappy. His lifelong dream is to make a pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. He's got the money, he's got the time, but for 30 years he has stayed in his little shop just polishing glass. Why? And boom, there it is, the core of the syndrome. For him, the dream wasn't a goal, it was fuel. It was the beautiful idea that got him through the soul-crushing boredom of his days. He wasn't afraid of the journey to Mecca, he was terrified of his life after Mecca. Just think about that. It's the person who talks nonstop about starting a business, but never writes a business plan. The fantasy of one day is just so much cozier than the risk of day one. And this is the fundamental split in how people operate. On one side, you've got the shepherd, Santiago. He sees his dream as a real place, a destination he has to physically travel to. So he takes action, he risks it all. And then on the other side, you've got the merchant. For him, the dream is just a mental screensaver that makes the daily grind a little more tolerable. One uses his dream to change his life, the other one uses it to endure his. So here's the point, the thing you have to get. The merchant's shop wasn't his prison. The prison was his routine. It was the predictability. It was that soul-crushing phrase, I'm used to the way I am. He saw every opportunity for growth, like Santiago's idea to sell tea in the crystal glasses, not as a blessing, but as a threat to his familiar misery. His comfort zone had become his cage. So, if chasing your dream is terrifying, and not chasing it is just a slow, quiet death, then what's the answer, right? Let's get into the solution. The book offers this beautiful little parable that holds the key to balancing our ambition with the life we're actually living day to day. So this old king, Melchizedek, tells Santiago a story right before he sets off on his journey. It's about a young man who is sent to a grand castle to learn the one true secret to happiness from the wisest man in the world. And this wise man gives him a very strange test. It involves a magnificent palace, a simple spoon, and just 2 tiny drops of oil. So the wise man gives the boy a task. He says, walk around my entire palace, but you have to carry this spoon with 2 drops of oil in it and you cannot spill them. The first time, the boy is so anxious, so focused on the oil, that he walks around for 2 hours and sees nothing. He fails. The wise man sends him back, this time telling him to actually look at the marvels around him. So he does. He's captivated by the art, the gardens, the architecture. But when he returns to the wise man, the oil is gone. He failed again. And this is the secret. It's not one or the other. True happiness isn't about sacrificing your entire life for one single goal, and it's not about forgetting your goals just to enjoy the moment. It's about holding both of those things, your goal and your life, in a perfect, conscious balance. Let's break this down. The 2 drops of oil, that's your personal legend. That's your purpose, your big goal, your treasure. And the palace? The palace is your life, the one that's happening right now. The people you love, the small joys, the journey itself. So many of us spill the oil because we get distracted. But just as many of us stare so hard at the spoon that we completely miss the breathtaking beauty of the palace we're walking through. Okay, so we've got the diagnosis and the core philosophy, but how do you actually do this stuff? I mean, this book isn't just a fairy tale. It's a field manual for navigating reality once you've decided to go after something that actually matters. So let's open up the toolkit. This right here is the method. It's a total shift in how you operate. Follow the omens just means trust your gut, you know? Pay attention to those weird coincidences that seem to push you in a certain direction. It's about knowing the world speaks a language that isn't always words. And then you have the 1-2 punch of any great journey. Beginner's luck, which is the universe giving you a little shove to get you started. But that's all just a warm-up for the real deal, the test. That's the long, hard grind where your commitment is truly forward. And this comparison perfectly captures the difference. On his journey, Santiago meets this Englishman who has spent his entire life just reading super complex books on alchemy. He knows all the theories, all the formulas. But Santiago? He learns by watching the desert, by talking to the camel driver, by getting robbed and having to start from scratch. He learns by living. The Englishman is totally paralyzed, searching for the perfect instructions, while Santiago is empowered by just taking the next messy, imperfect step. The book calls this the principle of favorability. And it's real. The moment you finally truly commit, things will just start to fall into place. You'll get that lucky break. You'll meet the right person. The money will show up. This isn't magic, it's momentum. The universe rewards action. And that early success is so important because it proves to the most skeptical person in the world, you, that this impossible dream might just be possible after all. But listen, here is the trap. Beginner's luck is just the warm-up. The real journey, the part that actually shapes you into the person who's capable of achieving the dream, that's the test. It's that long, difficult middle part after the initial excitement is gone. It's where you face setbacks, lose your way, and question everything. And this, right here, is where almost everyone quits, because they mistake the end of their beginner's luck for a sign that they're on the wrong path. So how do you pass the test? You pass it with this brutally simple but beautiful piece of logic from a camel driver in the book. When you're in the middle of the desert and turning back isn't an option, you stop wasting energy on what-ifs and worst-case scenarios, you burn the ships. Your focus shrinks down to one thing and one thing only. What is the absolute best next step I can possibly take right now? And this brings us to the ultimate point of the entire journey. It's never about what you find at the finish line. It's about who you become while you're on the way. The final transformation is realizing that you are, and always were, the alchemist of your own life. See, alchemy isn't really about turning lead into gold. That's just a metaphor. The lead, that's you, right now, with all your fears, your doubts, your bad habits. The gold is the person you're capable of becoming. And the process of pursuing your personal legend, all the failures, the lessons, the grit, that is the fire that burns away the impurities and transforms you. The journey is the treasure. And this is the beautiful paradox, isn't it? You start the journey to get something, the treasure, the money, the recognition. But as you push through the tests, your motivation starts to shift. The pursuit itself becomes the reward. It stops being about the destination and starts being about the act of becoming. Your dream becomes your identity. So this is where we end, with a choice. You can stay in the safe pasture, or you can step into the desert, the flock or the fire, the lead or the gold. I'm leaving you with a direct order, not a suggestion. Identify the one single action you have been putting off because you're afraid, the call you won't make, the email you won't send, the conversation you keep avoiding. Figure out what it is, and go do it today, now.
That wraps up today's review. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. See you next time.